When the keeper Mimiron discovered Kadgemite, a rare mineral found on Azeroth, he started experimenting with the Kadgemite's curious altering effects on the creatures of Azeroth. When Mimiron tested it on a particular creature, he found that the rare mineral would increase the intelligence and awareness. These beings come to be known as Goblins. After the Sundering, when the continents were separated, Zandalari trolls discovered an island known as Kezan, where the Goblins dwelt. The Zandalari found a large amount of Kadgemite. Kadgemite was important to the trolls' culture, and they enslaved the Goblins into mining it for them. Over time, the Goblins of Kezan grew even more intelligent due to the exposure to the Kadgemite. The Goblins created many inventions that would be used to liberate the island from the trolls. After freeing themselves from the Zandalari control, the Goblins split into factions known as cartels. These cartels are ruled by trade princes, who got their positions of power by any and all means necessary. The Goblins would soon build the city of Kezan, harvesting Kadgemite for themselves. The Goblins would also discover a proficiency in selling and trading of goods. They would spread throughout Azeroth, selling their inventions to the other races, most notably the Zeppelins, primarily used by the Horde. The Goblins are notorious for their greed, wealth, and drive to do almost anything for a profit. A new Goblin arrives at the KTC headquarters on Kezan. The Goblins are using troll slaves to harvest the Kadgemite for Kajicola, which is extremely profitable. But the trolls are slacking. And worms are invading the caves and attacking anyone who comes near. The Goblin takes care of both of these problems. The Goblin is then sent to participate in a foot bomb game taking place in the center of Kezan. Suddenly, the massive dragon Deathwing appears over the island and causes the local volcano to erupt. Deathwing, once the Earth Warder and dragon aspect, but he betrayed his fellow dragons in the War of the Ancients and is now known as the Aspect of Death. Upon returning to KTC headquarters, the Goblin finds Gallywix, trade prince of the Bilgewater cartel, who offers the Goblin safe passage off the island if they can pay him. The Goblin then does various tasks, such as collecting more Kadgemite from the local mine, breaking in and robbing the bank, and even burning down the headquarters to collect on the insurance policy. After collecting the adequate amount of moolah, the Goblin reaches Gallywix's yacht, but is betrayed by the trade prince when he changes the terms of their deal and takes the Goblins as slaves. After escaping Kezan, Gallywix's yacht runs straight into a naval battle between the Alliance and the Horde. The Alliance open fire on the Goblin's yacht and sink it off the coast of the Lost Isle. The Goblin wakes up, marooned on an island, and quickly gets to work securing a beachhead and gathering any equipment of use. The Goblin meets Foreman Dampwick in a cave to mine minerals. Here, the Goblin discovers an orc corpse. The Horde has also been marooned on this island, and they could become allies of the Goblins. The Goblin travels to the Horde base camp further inland and meets Agra. Agra informs the Goblin that the Horde ship was carrying a secret cargo when the Alliance sunk it. She sends the Goblin to deal with the SI-7 agents prowling the jungle. The Goblin meets Kellag on the front lines. Kellag informs the Goblin that they have located the cargo on an Alliance ship. Brax sends the Goblin to steal a gyrocopter from the gnome on the beach, to use it to infiltrate the Alliance ship and take back the secret cargo. Upon arriving on the Vengeance Wake, the Goblin discovers the cargo isn't a thing but a person, Thrall, ex-war chief of the Horde, had been taken captive and placed in a magical cage. Once free, Thrall uses his shamanistic powers to summon the elements to come to his aid and to smite the Alliance. After rescuing Thrall, the Goblin takes a rocket to travel to the bigger island across shark-infested waters. Foreman Dampwick instructs the Goblin on how to deploy the town in a box, another ingenious invention of the Goblins. Once the base camp is established, the Goblin takes care of the carnivores in the area. The Goblin then moves further inland and meets with Megs and Bricks, who are investigating the Vashilan ruins, which are overrun with Naga. The Goblin is sent to deal with the Naga. The Naga were once night elves, but after the Sundering, they were turned into Naga and corrupted by the old god N'Zoth. After dealing with the Naga and staking Bilgewater cartel flags all over the ruins, the Goblin finds the leader of the Naga in the ruins as well, an old god minion, known as a Cathraxi, or a Faceless One. The Goblin quickly deals with the old god minion, and returns to Megs and Bricks with a report. Upon returning to a town in a box, the Goblin finds an army of pygmy attacking the base. Many goblins have been taken captive and are being held for a sacrifice in the pygmy camp. The Goblin travels further into the mainland to free the captives. The Goblin then travels to the Lost Peak. The Goblins have set up a barricade to keep the zombie armies back. Assistant Greeley has created an invention in the rocket flame boots. She wants the Goblin to collect the powder on the island to burn the zombie armies. The Goblin is sent to kill the pygmy witch doctors responsible for the zombies. The Caldera, the center of the volcano, the Goblins have discovered Volcanoth, a giant fire turtle that the pygmies have been worshipping. Hobart Grapplehammer wants the Goblin to collect fire glands from the local fire turtles to develop a device to deal with Volcanoth. The Goblin uses the gun to deal with Volcanoth, resulting in the entire volcano to erupt. The Goblin escapes the eruption on a flying bomber and comes to the War Chief's lookout, where they again meet with Thrall. Thrall sends the Goblin to deal with the Alliance paratroopers landing on the shore to the west. Agra also sends the Goblin to assassinate the SI-7 leaders on the beach, responsible for the deaths of many Horde. The Pride of Kezan is sent into battle to clear the skies of the Alliance. After dealing with the Alliance, the Goblin travels to Gallywix's labor mine, where goblins are being enslaved by the Trade Prince. The Goblin frees the slaves and deals with the brutes. When the Goblin and the liberated slaves escape the mine, they deal a heavy blow to Gallywix's operation on the island by destroying the oil rig offshore and deactivating the shredders along the coast. The Battle of the Lost Isle ends in a finale, in which the Goblin and Thrall take on Gallywix. Gallywix is defeated. To reform the cartel's ways, Thrall requests that the Bridgewater cartel join the Horde. Although Kezan and the Lost Isle have been devastated by the recent eruptions, the Goblins have faced and overcome other obstacles in their history. For the Goblins, there is nothing a good invention and a load of gold can't solve.